PodcastCoug Season 3, Episode 4.
You're listening to the PodcastCoug Radio Network with your host, James Laurie. The PodcastCoug is your weekly Coug On Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. And now, here is your host, PodcastCoug.
Welcome back to the PodcastCoug. I am James Laurie, the PodcastCoug, and you are listening to the PodcastCoug, where all things are Cougar football. 30 minutes of Coug talk. We're going to talk about the previous game against SC and our upcoming opponent against Utah Utes. Hey, welcome back to another episode. Here we are. A couple of announcements. Saturday, Utah Utes, game time, kick 3 o'clock. That's a great tailgate time, right? 3 p.m. Great tailgate. We got the Cougar Prawl at 12:15 right outside the field house. That's Butch, coaches, cheerleaders, and the band. 12:15 at the field house. Clear bag policy at Martin. Make sure you've got your 14 inches by 14 inches. Clear bag. Those are the requirements, right? A lot of restrictions, so you can check out those restrictions at Cougar Football, WSU Cougars, .com. But new policy if you're heading into Martin for homecoming, first game of the year, perhaps this is your first game and you're going to homecoming. You've got to respect and honor this new clear bag policy. Also, Highway 26, there's a bridge deck replacement right east of Othello. So be prepared for an extra 30-minute commute. If you're heading from Seattle on 26, there's going to be detours right after Othello, and it's about 14 miles. You're going to be off of 26 and then back onto 26. Be prepared. 30-minute delay coming back, right? When you're heading west on 26, same situation, same detour, same little delay. So be prepared for Highway 26 with those delays. So here we are. USC escapes the Coliseum with a 39-36 win over Washington State after blocking a late field goal. That is what a crushing. That was so very difficult loss. Even with the loss, right, to USC, we passed the test. Washington State passed the test. We can play with anybody in the Pac-12. We should have won that game, of course. At one early point in the third quarter, Washington State had a 13-point lead in the Los Angeles Coliseum. USC's 17-home game winning streak was in danger. We were threatening to beat Clayton Helton and the Trojans for the second time in 2 years. All right, that would have been a first, right? But right on cue, JT Daniels and their talented crew, tons of wide receivers, great wide receivers, 4-star, 5-star. They got hot, 38-yard. Washington State field goal was blocked with 2 minutes left to play, and the country's second longest home winning streak continues. So USC just barely got out of that one. They are so lucky. They've got the second longest home winning streak. So last Friday, very frustrated. The Cougs did bring back a win from Los Angeles. I was concerned, of course, we all were, about the poor officiating that played such a role in the outcome. Concerned that Leach predicted, it was literally he burned the timeouts unnecessary, right? He was calling some timeouts early on in situations, and really it prevents any safety net after the final drive. So, that was concerning about that clock management and the timeouts that were unnecessary. And then also, really, I was more concerned about the third down and long, right? Third down and long. If you remember, it was actually the Cougs extended the drive on a 3rd and 6. They could have extended the drive. Now it was 3rd and 6 on the 21-yard line. People aren't talking about this. To me, this is what was the game right here. All right, it's 3rd and 6 at USC's 21-yard line. Potentially scored. We're going for a go-ahead touchdown. And we despite all the success we had throwing the ball against the Trojans, Gardner decided to go with a run play at the line of scrimmage, handed off to Williams, and it was stuffed for no gain. 3rd and 6. Okay, who does that? Now, Mike's called plays like that before when, he's thinking, okay, they're going to think we're just going to pass, right? Bluff them, and we're going to run the ball. Well, guess what? It's 3rd and 6 on the 21-yard line, right? And then what happens? What happens after that, right? William gets stuffed, then we kick a field goal to tie the game, and you know what happened. That was very, very unfortunate. Blake Mazza's final kick never got a chance because of a blown blocking assignment that USC had scouted. What a missed opportunity. I'm not blaming the refs. It's just we could have won that game despite of the officiating, and I personally think it was that 3rd and 6 and running the ball on 3rd and 6 on the 21-yard line. Who does that, right? I mean, now granted, when it works, you're a hero. When it works, right? But that's a long 6 yards to run the ball. And Gardner did say that he kind of took the blame for that. That was not Coach Leach. So nobody's perfect, right? The reality is Washington State is 3-1. And it's a little frustrating. We could have been 4-0, right? But we are very close. We're halfway through making it to a 4th consecutive bowl game. So, which is minimum 6 games. So we're more than halfway there at getting to our 4th consecutive bowl game. So that's not bad. By the way, Porter Gustin's controversial hit on Gardner Minshew was worth an extra look. The Pac-12 officials determined that the helmet-to-helmet collision did not warrant a targeting penalty. And Larry Scott was also involved in that. So it was a very, very close one, but they determined that it was not targeting at all. So, hey, we're going to be right back. We're going to talk about the University of Utah, the Utes. By the way, BYU, they're playing the Huskies. We got 2 Utah schools, right? We got the BYU Cougars playing the Huskies, and we got the Utes coming up on the second half of the podcast right here on the Podcast Coug.
Hey, Coug fans. You're podcasting with James Laurie and the Podcast Coug Radio Network. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug On Demand show featuring all things Cougar football in Washington State. To help you get through the week, hit the subscribe button or check us out on iTunes, the App Store, iOS, Google Play, Stitcher, or at podcastcoug.com.
Welcome back to the second half of the Podcast Coug. I'm James Laurie, and you are listening to the Podcast Coug. The Cougs are 3-1. Homecoming Saturday, 3 p.m. Hey, when you've been coaching as long as Kyle Whittingham has, you tend to build a reputation for doing things really well. And building a stacked defense, you bet. Every single year, Kyle has got a great defense. An offense that features a bruising but superb running back. Yep, that's right. Good passing game. Well, nope. Not really good passing game. Okay, so go all the way back to 2011 when Utah jumped ship from the Mountain West to join the Pac-12, and take a look at the quarterbacks that have played for Kyle Whittingham from then to now. Right? I mean, you just take a look. There's been lots to worry about the Utes, but a strong passing game? No, not at all. We are concerned about Zach Moss, right? Zach Moss. He's going to run right over you, run on the ground. A year after stacking up nearly 1,200 yards on the ground, Moss is averaging about 6 yards a touch through 3 games, though he took the bulk of his greatest game against Weber State, right? So Utah is good. It continues to have their offense is their ground game. I mean, pretty much the most part. They just aren't very good in the air. So why are we talking about the Utes offense in the game that they're playing the Cougs that are averaging 41 points a game, right? Why are we concerned, right? Because they're going to use the running game to extend the drives and keep our offense off the field, right? So we got right. They're going to do everything they can to keep us off the field. So Washington State's offense versus the Utes defense is an interesting matchup, no doubt. But it's going to be a lot less interesting if Washington State's possessions are cut down by Utah extending the drives that end in points. So. Interesting. Washington State's defense, really, we've got to be stopping the run game. We just have to, right? To do that, the defensive line has to do their best of totally the best of the year, right, of the season. So Tracy Claeys, he used blitzes to support what has been a pretty poor pass rush this season, but without many pass rush for keeping, we got to remember it's Zach Moss. We got to contain him. And that is just, we got to shut him down on Saturday, right? Focus on Zach Moss. So no concerns with Tyler Huntley, their quarterback, none whatsoever. All right. Good guy, right? Not very concerned about Tyler Huntley, their quarterback. Taylor Comfort, Nick Bagg, and Namu Aguayo may not show up on the stat sheet. But you know what? They're going to do about everything right on Saturday. They have to. They got to fill the gaps and get Zach Moss. Slow him down. Stop him. Do whatever they can. And just back him up, blow him out, do whatever, right? For a tackle for a loss. We just got to contain Moss. So, got to do it. Defensive line has a tall task on Saturday, and they know, the team knows Utah's objective is going to be ball control. No question about it. Trying to keep Gardner off the field, and if the Coug defense can contain Zach Moss, then Washington State is going to have great opportunities, and we're going to score some points. We're going to have a happy homecoming. We're going to have a happy tailgate. It's going to be a good game. I think it is. I'm not concerned about Utah at all. I think it's going to be good, and this is going to be. We got tested by SC, and I think we're going to come back. The game's not a sellout. It is not sold out. We sold out Eastern Washington. I think it's because a lot of folks from Spokane, a lot of Eastern fans and Spokane fans coming down. But homecoming is not a sellout. So that will be unfortunate, right? But, really, it's simple as that. They don't really have a passing game. They've never had a passing game and in all these years, but they got a really, really, really good defense. And we got to keep Zach Moss under control. That's just simple as that. That's what the Cougs have to do. You're going to do your part, right? We're going to have fun on Saturday, whether we're watching it on TV or we're at Martin Stadium. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's it for the Podcast Coug for this episode. We're going to catch you next week. Have a great game day, right? And go Cougs.
You've been listening to the Podcast Coug Radio Network with your host, James Laurie. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug On Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. This has been a presentation of the Podcast Coug Radio Network. Find us at podcastcoug.com.